After losing again in Turkey, Liverpool will need to overturn a one-goal deficit next week when Galatasaray come to Anfield. It will be the biggest match of Arne Slot's managerial career up to this point, but regardless of the outcome, it feels like his fate is kind of inevitable. We are witnessing the slow death of Arne Slot's Liverpool. To help me discuss this a little bit further, I've got a fellow Liverpool creator in the building. Brian, how are we doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you?
I'm good, mate. Not too pleased with obviously the performance last night. 1-0 to Galatasaray. And I think that's the only place to start, really. What were your general thoughts on the game?
You know what? In that, it is the most Liverpool of this season performance I've ever seen. In that first like 6-7 minutes, I genuinely thought like we could be 3 goals up here and we should have been 3 goals up. And then you look at the next 10 minutes and you think, how are we not 5 goals down? Like I'm struggling to come to terms with what's happening in front of my eyes most of the time.
Yeah, it's a good start from us because we were high pressing them. They were losing the ball a couple of times trying to play out from the back. I was like, I actually tweeted, this tie should be finished by the end of this 90 minutes. And obviously their first attack, basically they score from the corner, and just really disappointing overall. I didn't think we got much better in the second half either. I thought we got worse. I don't know about you.
It just felt like, yeah, no sort of progression in that second half at all. Like we just didn't kick on. And like even when we conceded for another like 5 minute spell, we looked like we could really get back into the game. But yeah, just that second half, just it slips away completely.
Yeah, no real changes as well from the manager. We'll get onto that in a moment, but there were poor individual performances all across the park. I don't want to say who was the worst performance, but yeah, I guess who stood out as really, really kind of underperforming for me, it was Ibu Konate.
Yeah, it was such a poor display from him. And look, I know the goal's offside, but even that defending is so questionable from him. Like, what was he trying to do to clear the ball?
So bad. We've seen him do this so many times this season. That's the thing. He returned to it. He was actually, pretty good in the past, 2-3 months. I've been impressed with him. But yeah, last night returned to the same. McAllister and Gravenberch were poor as well. What did you make of them in midfield?
It breaks my heart the most with McAllister because I've spent so long trying to defend him this season, just thinking off the fact that he had that injury in the summer. So a bit of a slow preseason for him, and then he's chucked back in, obviously 3 or 4 games in. I've tried so hard to defend him, but it's getting to the stage where I don't want to say it, but I think I'm going to have to, that it really feels like his legs are gone. Like, and I don't mean gone as in they can even come back. They are.
No, they're done.
He could be finished at this club right now, and not in the way I don't want to see it go out like this. But it's looking worse than Fabinho in his last year for Liverpool.
I've made that comparison quite a bit as well.
Yeah.
It really is that bad. I thought Wirtz was quite poor as well off that left-hand side. Had a couple chances where you're expecting him to kind of be a bit more forceful with his shots. Didn't work out. Salah, ineffective, came off after 60 minutes. I don't know. There's no direction under this kind of manager. Would you have changed anything from the starting 11 though?
I actually think playing Wirtz so soon probably didn't really make sense out on the left, and I think Cody Gakpo probably could have done more out on the left. Or if it was down to me, I'd have started Rio and Gamoa, but that's never going to happen. And I can kind of understand why he's not started in Gamoa in this game. It's obviously a tough place to go away from home. But yeah, at least Gakpo, I didn't actually think the Wirtz out on the left was the right move from the manager.
It's a tough first game to come back in and start from Wirtz, isn't it? Especially out wide. I was just disappointed with his performance. Rio, I think he should have definitely came on in the game. Maybe the last 15, 20 when we're chasing a goal. And yeah, I mentioned the lineup there. Subs wise, was there anything else Slot could have done? You mentioned Rio. Maybe change things a bit soon. Maybe hooked Konate. I don't know.
Or even just bring on Curtis Jones. I don't understand.
You look
Curtis
at Jones.
Ingamoa and Curtis Jones, 2 standout players against Wolves on Friday, and then nothing at all in this game. I can't understand what the man management is behind this. Like, whatever, a lot of people will try to defend his thinking with Ingamoa because he's young and maybe he's not ready, but you can't defend it when it comes to Curtis Jones, a senior player who's clearly good enough, an engine in midfield. And what we lacked yesterday was that intensity in midfield that I can guarantee Jones would have brought to that team.
No, you're spot on. You're spot on. And I mentioned to you before about how our fan base kind of goes a bit too harsh on Curtis Jones, in my opinion. And I think yesterday was a prime example, because if Curtis Jones was putting in the performance that McAllister put in, I think, we'd hear a lot about that. But how McAllister ends up
100%.
played the full 90, didn't he?
Yeah,
Yeah, like
just
even Gravenberch as well. You could have hooked Gravenberch off. Curtis Jones played really well against Brighton in the FA Cup, really well against Wolves in the FA Cup, and he's been rewarded with nothing. And if we keep Slot, I'm worried that he will actually go in the summer. But I guess that's another kind of topic. What are your actual biggest gripes with Slot? Because I haven't been able to speak to you so far this season about what you don't like about him the most. What really grinds your gears with him? Because there's so many things, isn't there?
the one that stood out to me from the start that I used to hate before everything else. So one of them would be the man management. I think he can't manage this team. He's making an absolute mockery of managing this team, because we know that they're good players. We know they're good lads. We've seen it over the course of a couple of years under Jurgen Klopp, and obviously the newer players that have come in. But I hate his press conferences. I hate them so much. He always comes out and says the same things over and over and over. And it's to the point now where I'm just like, are we watching the same game? Because
Yeah.
he'll come out and say, we hardly conceded a chance, but we've conceded these amount of goals. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think there's problems how he speaks in the press. He's too open at times. Even last night, I clicked on his press conference and I watched it. Well, I watched the first 2 minutes and I had turned off because I was hearing, they scored in their first chance. He said the amount of times, like you say, he said that. It's just rinse and repeat. Every press conference is basically the same. Man management, it's a massive, thing for him, and a reason why Liverpool have failed this season. I guess his in-game management as well. Last season, I was really impressed with it, but
Yeah.
I know he just doesn't seem to change anything, change the course. He can't do it, can he?
No, not at all. And I think when we go on man management, and I think a lot of people, this will always split the fan base with what happened with Salah in December. But I think if you're one of your greatest players is coming out and saying what he said, and then you're seeing Curtis Jones, and you're seeing a couple of these players make it quite clear how they feel, I think there is something going on behind the scenes that maybe we don't know. And I think that just speaks volumes about, again, his man management. And whether or not you like it or don't like it, go back 10 years and Trent Alexander-Arnold was chucked in against Manchester United, and he goes on and he plays a couple of more games and you see him, and then the next year he breaks into the team massively. Look, I know Klein obviously had his injury, but I think if you're old enough, you're good enough, and I think Ingemoa is more than good enough to be getting a lot more minutes. And I know people will say he's already played more minutes than most 17-year-olds would have played by this stage, but I think he's better than that, and I would have played him, or at least chucked him in for 20 against Galatasaray.
Completely agree. And yeah, I think the way he even speaks about Ngamora in press conferences doesn't really praise him as much as I think a Jurgen Klopp would. Try and big up these young players to try and actually reach their potential, but it doesn't seem to be doing that. Always focus on the negatives. That's what I get with Slot when it comes to players. Like, he never gives players their full credit. Klopp would never come out to the media and, I don't know, pinpoint a player and say he needs to get better in this area. Slot just does that, and his press conferences last so long as well, just rambles on. It's painful. Is there any world in where you think he can actually turn this around? It feels like it's inevitable, and like I said at the start of this video, it feels like a slow death. I think we all kind of know where it's going to lead to, the fan base. It feels really kind of apathetic at the moment. What do you think? Can he turn it around?
I don't think he can turn it around, but I have a big fear that he'll be here next year, despite whatever happens. I think that is my biggest worry. You look at what happened with Brendan Rodgers, didn't win anything, missed out on Champions League, and the next season he gets the first 2 months of the season and we nearly write off that whole league that year. That is my biggest fear, because I've seen it before. But in terms of turning it around, I don't think he can actually do anything that will turn it around with this fan base. I maybe win the Champions League, and even then I still don't think I want him to stay, and that's how bad it's gone, which is scary to think.
Tells you a lot, doesn't it? Like, if you're winning the Premier League and the Champions League within your first 2 seasons, you should have, you should be able to say, yeah, every fan will want me, but there's nothing really there right now. I was going to say, how does he keep his job? But I honestly think he goes now, even, well, unless we win the Champions League, I think he goes regardless. So even if we win the FA
Yeah.
Cup, get top 5 in the Premier League, I think he'll go. There's rumours about Xabi Alonso, isn't there? Have you seen those rumours?
I've read a few of them, but I find it hard at the moment to get sucked into it because I get too excited. And I've got something in the back of my mind that's brewing that I think PSG and Luis Enrique could part ways this summer. And I feel like, as much as I love Alonso, if someone asked me to pick between Alonso or Enrique, I think I would lean towards Enrique. Again, that's now, if we got Alonso, I'd still be absolutely buzzing.
Mm.
But there's just something with Enrique that gives me that sort of Jurgen Klopp vibe nearly.
Yeah, he wants to come to the Prem eventually, doesn't he, as well? I think he would be the top pick for most of our fan base. Just obviously won the Champions League with PSG. He's got the experience on Alonso, but I agree with you. If we get Alonso, I'll be more than excited. He's got that connection with the fan base, so we already like him. He doesn't really have to prove much to us in terms of just being, a likable kind of guy. So yeah,
And he's got hair.
That's a big one as well. But yeah, I think it is just a slow death, and it's painful each week. Don't know about you, but the fan base, I don't see reactions when we lose games anymore, like of pure anger, because it's just what everyone expects it at this point. It's 14 losses in all competitions, by the way.
It's so bad. I think I've felt for the last couple of months that I've nearly been numb to it, but I will admit yesterday my head was on Mars. But I think a lot of that had to do with the actual refereeing performance more so than the actual performance from us. I think when I looked at it, I thought, this is just painful to watch, and it's what I'm used to at this stage.
That ref was so bad. He was terrible.
So bad.
Don't agree with the disallowed goal, that we scored, but it wasn't even that. It was just his general performance. He was giving everything to them, mate. It was so bad.
First Galatasaray booking is in the 85th minute, and we had 4 yellow cards by that point. It's just so bad.
When you go to get places like that, it's really tough, isn't it? And I think that's another reason why the referee wasn't in our favour for that game. But there's no excuse to me. Obviously, we didn't play well enough to get the win. Probably created enough chances to get a draw, but even then, they created quite a bit as well. Moving on to our upcoming games, we've got Tottenham on the weekend, who are in a much worse place than us, which tells you a lot. Battling relegation, got smacked last night by Atletico Madrid. Are you confident for this one? I never see Tottenham coming to Anfield and winning, but I don't know. I wouldn't really rule it out this time.
Well, I watched the Spurs game right after our game last night, and I just was laughing because I just realised they're probably going to come and get their first win in 2026 against us.
That'll be so.
I am quite confident going into it. It would be the most Arne Slot Liverpool thing to do, is to hand them a win now. But I'm actually at the game, so fingers crossed we get the result.
I think we need to, with obviously the Champions League race being quite tight at the moment. We shouldn't be worrying about Spurs realistically, although they'll definitely prioritise that ahead of the Champions League second leg versus Atletico Madrid. I don't think they've won at Anfield since 2011, it might be, so quite a long time. But yeah, we should get that one done, and then obviously another game at Anfield, the second leg against Galatasaray. Your thoughts on that? Do you think they can actually progress and beat us? Do you think they're a good team? I'm still not that impressed with them at all.
I'm not impressed with them, but I seen Liam say this last night that made me laugh. They're probably not much more impressed with us, which is the funny thing. Look, I think we should, but I don't know if you've seen that stat today. We haven't. We've won one knockout game at Anfield since the Barcelona comeback, and that worries me massively. But I still think their fans aren't travelling. We should just get the job done.
Yeah, no, you would think so. But it's Champions League. Who knows? That Galatasaray team are a bit crazy. I feel like defensively they're not great, but that tells you a lot about us because we haven't scored a goal past them in 180 minutes. Going forward, they have got some good players. Osman caused us issues yesterday, so that's kind of my worry. If they grab a goal from a set piece, they look good from set pieces as well. Give us a prediction for both games then. Give us a Spurs prediction and then a Galatasaray one.
Liverpool 4, Spurs 1, Liverpool 3, Galatasaray 1. There's
Okay,
my
2
predictions.
wins, 2 big wins. Hopefully that can propel us towards the end of the season. I'm hoping so anyway, because if we get any loss out of these 2 games, mate, the fan base, the reaction from the fan base, yeah, I've been saying it's apathetic, but I think that'll tip a lot of us over the edge, won't it?
Yeah, it's going to be diabolical. I
Gonna
won't
be
want to be on social media.
yeah, super toxic. But yeah, the club is in a very bad place at the moment, and it's a massive shame. So deflating, but I mean, nevertheless, thank you for your time today, mate. I really appreciate the chat. Hopefully, this is the first collab of many between us as well.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I love being on, and we'll definitely do more videos in future. Thanks so much for having me on.
No worries, mate. Please follow Brian if you don't already. All of the links will be in the description below. Like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And yeah, I'll catch you guys on another video. Peace.